This podcast is brought to you by the Deluxe Edition Network. To find more great shows on our network, head over to theden.show.
Hold on, stop. Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill.
You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.
What is going on? And welcome to Take on the World with
Nathan Blaze.
and Mike D. We have been off for quite some time, about a month and a half. We have not recorded. Young Nathan here, had some surgery, a little bit of complications.
I'm a little bit of drama queen.
Yeah. So we're back. He's getting back to normal, so we figure we'd come down and try to get this pumped out. We want to continue on with our soda series,
Oh, yeah.
or as I call it, Where'd That Come From? We did, our first Where'd That Come From was phrases. Our second Where'd That Come From, we did Pepsi Cola, the history of Pepsi Cola. And now we're going to delve into the history of Coca-Cola.
Yeah, this one's been cooking for a while.
I started the research when I did the Pepsi one. And now I've completed the research and I've added all the extra elements that I wanted to make sure we did not forget, including some conspiracies about Coca-Cola.
Always. There always has to be conspiracy.
And as you can see on the table, we have some other sodas that we have either covered, which was Pepsi, or we will cover, which is Dr. Pepper, RC Cola, and Mountain Dew. We will not be doing those today. We both have a Coca-Cola in front of us, although I have adultized mine.
Yeah, mine's PG-13.
So, you want to talk a second about what you just went through over the last month and a half? Or you want to skip over it?
No, like I said, I'm not scared of it.
Okay.
It's not hiding under my bed waiting to get me.
No,
At
it's
least I
not.
hope not.
No, it's not.
So yeah, had a little surgery, had a stroke. It only affected my left side and some of my automatic stuff, so like my swallowing, all that other fun jazz that goes along with that. So at first, couldn't move my left at all, but getting better now. Still working on that hand.
So Nathan spent a week in an ICU, and then he moved to 5 weeks in a rehab hospital, and now he's doing outpatient rehab, and he's slowly getting movement back in his left side. He's walking now. He couldn't talk real good at first.
Oh yeah, no.
It was a struggle. It was a struggle to move his arm, but now he's at that point where everything's coming along. Every day is a little step forward, a little step slower, but it's moving forward, which is what we want. I'm just going to throw this out there because I get a little emotional about the whole thing. You know, being 19 years old, it's got to be frustrating.
Oh well. Yeah, there's a whole lot of frustration that goes along with it. But I try my best to keep a positive mind about it. Focus on the little victories, the little things that improve each day, even if it's just by a little bit.
That's right. I won't mention a young lady's name, but Nathaniel, while he was at rehab hospital, there's a young lady down there who's also going through some pretty heavy drama physically. Yeah. And the positive attitude that both of these kids had going through this, it amazes me because I know adults who have just given up and, oh, woe is me, but, you know, neither you or her ever really got to that point.
We're too young to give up. We have too much work to do yet.
That's right. Got too much
work.
Too much life to live. So join me in welcoming Nathaniel back to the show and back to some sort of similar normal life.
Yeah.
Some
Creatively
semblance, some
independent.
semblance of normal life. He's getting there,
Oh, yeah.
and we're proud of him. So, John was not able to be here this week, which is a shame because I have a couple good topics to do with John. Just looking forward so we know what's coming up. We have this Coca-Cola episode. In the next few weeks, a friend of mine who I wrestled with, the Night Prowler, is going to come up and he's going to sit with us. And we are going to do a movie review, which is not something that we normally do. Now, we've talked about film. We've talked about music. We've talked about a lot of different things. But Herb actually does movie reviews on Facebook. And we just recently watched Prey.
Oh, yeah.
He just recently reviewed Prey on his Facebook page. So what I want to do is get Herb in here, sit down. We're going to rewatch the movie.
All right.
Which I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a movie, and that's all I'll say now because I want you to tune in and listen to us review it.
Yes, it is a movie.
It's a movie. So that's coming up in the next couple weeks. John and I plan on doing a show on the shipwrecks in the Great Lakes.
Okay.
Which many people may not know that the Great Lakes, I mean, you see them on a map, they're big, but you don't realize what the expanse of them is and the storms that can whip up on those lakes. So there's a lot of shipwrecks, and I'm not going to get into detail because I want you to listen to the show.
It's taken a lot of restraint for me not to say anything because I was sitting down while he was doing some of his research.
So that's coming up. I also have a new true crime serial killer coming up soon. And I'm going to leave it at that. Because I have a couple in the bag, and I'm not sure which one I want to do. And John and I will have a couple beer reviews because we have a couple special beers, and John has a couple special beers that he grabbed, and we're going to do a couple beer reviews. So that's always a good time.
Is it? I thought it was only a good time when I was here.
No, it's always a good time. So that's what's coming up over the next few weeks. We're back. We took about a month and a half off, but we're back now. We're going to get back to posting regular. So make sure you hit the subscribe, like, blah, 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 comment, blah, 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 algorithm, blah, blah, blah. Do all that stuff so you don't miss anything that's coming up. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Twitter. So I just want to take a moment to mention we're on the Deluxe Edition Network. It's the den.show. Check out all the other shows on the den.show.
Oh, of course. Make sure you come back here.
Yeah, always come back. So that is that for now. And we're going to move on to the history of Coca-Cola.
All right. I know a little bit of bits and pieces of its history here and there. I knew a few things that you didn't.
What? No.
No, of course. I'm lying. He knows that.
That's not even possible. So, let's talk about Coca-Cola for a second. It's one of the most recognized product names in the world.
I don't think there's a person in the world who hasn't at least heard Coca-Cola once.
Well, no, you can't crunch. You can't crunch in a microphone. No. If this were another podcast I listened to, you'd be doing a penalty shot right now. Penalty shot of Malort.
No, thank you.
Although we don't have it, I can't find it. But
I heard the reactions to it.
Yeah.
No, thank
you. Yeah. Anyway, Coke has put their face on everything over the years.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that was part of the marketing strategy for the company. But you still see the Coke bottles, the little 10-ounce Coke bottles down there and everything is. And if you get the Mexican Coke, it's real cane sugar.
Yeah.
Whereas in the United States, a lot of the sugars are beet sugar.
Yes.
But that's a sidebar. So anyway, Coca-Cola was invented by,
Yes, it indeed was invented.
do you know who invented it?
I did, but I don't know the name, and I don't think I could pronounce it even if I did.
So his name is John Pemberton.
Pemberton. That.
It was invented in 1886. However, on doing my research, I found the history goes back a little bit farther.
Really? How so?
So April 12th, or April 16th, 1865, could be the date that the Coca-Cola wheels were put in motion.
65.
1865. So you had the Civil War.
Yeah.
The cavalry of the Union and Confederate armies were clashing over a bridge in Columbus, Georgia, and it may have been one of the final battles of the Civil War. So a Confederate colonel, John Pemberton, he was slashed across the chest with a saber. And he had to be carried from the battlefield. So this one event could be the reason why you clip coupons, why you see advertisements plastered on almost every flat surface in the world, and could be responsible for the modern appearance of Santa Claus.
Really?
That one event.
No.
So, from its humble beginnings, the brand rises from John Pemberton. It's listed right now as the third most valuable brand in the world, topped only by Apple and Google.
Okay, yeah, I can believe that.
So, the research that I saw, whatever year it was, I think it was 2017, they had assets of $90 billion, and that's more than Pepsi and Nike combined.
Oh, all right.
So, the wound that he received April 16th of 1865, they thought it was going to be a mortal wound. They thought he was going to die. So he was cut so deeply across his chest, they didn't expect him to make it through the day. So what they did was, and what they did for a lot of people, and even in some cases now, they gave him morphine just to make him comfortable. So the pain wasn't too unbearable. And the fact is, he made it through the night, and they thought, well, he's not going to make it another day. They kept on giving him morphine. They didn't give any thought to the long-term consequences of giving him so much morphine. Now, whether the morphine is what helped him get through because he wasn't dealing with pain, or whatever it was, he is now addicted to morphine because he made it.
Yeah.
So he actually became a pharmacist, or opened up a pharmacy, so that he would have readily available access to morphine.
Oh, for whenever he needed his fix.
Yes. He didn't succumb to those wounds, but much like many Civil War soldiers, became addicted to the painkiller. He started the pharmacy company in Atlanta, so he had a steady supply of the drug. After about a decade, his opioid habit was taking its toll, and Pemberton began to look for a cure for the opioid addiction.
Okay.
Which is smart of him, because
yeah.
I've seen what opioids can do to people in my line of work, and it takes a heavy toll over time.
You almost couldn't go a day in school when I was growing up without seeing something for drug abuse or whatever, really.
So he heard of this French mixture, which was wine and cocaine. It was called coca wine. So he decided to give that a try. So his first product was Pemberton's French wine coca nerve tonic.
Huh.
Yeah. Coca, not cocoa. Coca.
Doesn't really roll off
the tongue. No. Not like Coca-Cola.
Certainly not.
So it was a mixture of alcohol and cocaine and it was marketed for a cure for a long list of ailments, including upset stomach, chronic headaches, erectile dysfunction, and opioid addiction.
Oh, just your standard ailments.
Your standard everyday ailments. Chronic headache and addiction. It was made as a thick syrup, and it was delivered to other pharmacies where they could mix it with soda water, and it was dispensed then by trained professionals. But there was something else coming down the pike at that time that made him have to change it. So Prohibition fever had begun sweeping part of Georgia. Now, when people think of Prohibition, they think of the 1920s.
Yeah.
Where the federal government passed the Prohibition law. However, in 1851, Maine became the first state to prohibit the sale and manufacture of liquor.
All the way in 1951.
1851.
Or 1850.
Yeah. So 12 other states quickly followed suit. The Maine law was appealed 5 years later, in 1856. So 1861 to 1865, this what? Who wrote that? Wow. From 1861 to 1865, the temperance movement. Oh, I see. I know what I put there. During those years, the Civil War had kind of put a wet, damp cloth on the temperance movement. Like nobody wanted to think about prohibition or temperance during that time because the federal government got 13% of all its revenue from excise taxes on liquor. And if you go back, and that would hold true until 1913. Like they would get more tax revenue from the sale of alcohol and liquor than any other means. So you and I had talked about real shortly the Whiskey Rebellion.
Yeah.
And I'm going to link that episode below. Me and John did an in-depth episode on the Whiskey Rebellion and the way the taxes were levied, the excise taxes were levied. So in 1869, the National Prohibition Party was formed with a single platform to oppose the sale and consumption of alcohol. Now, this is all before the 20s. This is like 80 years earlier. That party still exists today.
I was about to say that. Sounds like something that talked about in government class.
I've never heard of it. And I'm kind of into politics, but supposedly the party still exists today. I guess they're not very powerful because it ain't working.
Yeah, no. And I don't think people, especially in our area, are going to give up.
No.
Their alcohol.
While Prohibition was banning alcohol sales, cocaine and the use of cocaine was still totally fine and legal.
Well, of course, there's nothing wrong with that.
So Pemberton reformulated his product into a non-alcoholic beverage to keep selling it. So when Atlanta area got hit with a prohibition law, he could still make money. And he could still sell it as a tonic to cure all those ailments. So the cocaine amount in Coca-Cola back then was 9 milligrams. And that's about 1/10 the recreational dose, a normal recreational dose. Just instead of shooting a line, you drink 10 Cokes.
I won't make it past 3 Cokes. Too much carbon.
So, to Coca-Cola, he developed the formula for the syrup in a 3-legged brass kettle in his backyard. I don't know what a 3-legged brass kettle is.
Well, it's kettle.
With 3 legs? And it's brass?
Yeah.
Like a space station?
In space?
Yeah. The syrup was combined with carbonated water to create a delicious and refreshing drink. It was originally sampled at local Jacobs Pharmacy on May 8th, 1886. So, from 1865 to 1886, his addiction brought him to making this product and putting it on sale. So, there is some dispute about some of these facts. Not everything is known. There was lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits over the years. Some sources have Asa Candler coming up with the now world famous logo. But it's also said that Pemberton's bookkeeper, Frank Robinson, gave the name suggestion Coca-Cola. And either way, whoever came up with it, Candler or Robinson, they wrote it out in a distinct font of the time that was taught in school. And it was nice flowing letters, and that's the Coca-Cola logo you see today.
Yeah.
The same font, by the way, was used for the Ford Motor Company. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
So the name Coca-Cola was easy to come up with. It was spelled Cocakola. However, the font looked much better instead of using a K in the second half to use a C. So it looked better on advertising. So the cola with a K became cola with a C.
All right.
Jacobs Pharmacy sold about 9 servings a day. The first year, their sales totaled $50.
I wouldn't say that's too successful.
Nope, that is not what you would call a business success. It was actually a loss because his total expenses to make the product for that year were $70. But he had a vision that to expand and make Coca-Cola more popular. So what he did, the production, sale, and distribution network Pemberton set up like immediately was the biggest factor in Coca-Cola's early success. He didn't actually invest in facilities or distribution. Instead, he made the syrup at his own plant. He would ship it out to contractors and affiliates who would mix it and sold it how they liked. A couple things about that because the standards were very loose. Not every Coca-Cola tastes the same. Some use more syrup, some use less syrup. You know, there were some things, but still, it became popular. Coca-Cola dispensaries began to spread all across the South, selling their drink for 5 cents a glass. That price would remain static for contractual reasons until 1959.
1959.
Yes.
You're still buying Coke for $5 a glass.
5 cents a glass.
5 cents a glass.
Yeah. Things get a little murky here because John Pemberton, the morphine addict, invented Coca-Cola to cure him, but he died in 1888. Around this point, due to the convoluted way that the company was owned, Pemberton left the responsibilities and the way that the company was broken up was weird. There are reports that Asa Candler bought the formula and the company from Pemberton a few years before he died.
Okay.
In 1887, Candler claimed to have bought the company for $2,300. For the formula, not the company, just the formula.
Just the formula.
Pemberton's son, Charlie, he claimed to hold the rights to the brand name, stating that the recipe was merely being used by Candler in an informal license. So I'm assuming there was no formal thing put on paper when he bought it. So if they didn't fix these problems, Coca-Cola would have been sunk. So at some point, Pemberton had partners that aren't spelled out in the history. I'm assuming that Robinson was a partner. I'm assuming that Candler was a partner. And I'm assuming that Charlie had a stake in the company. In the end, Candler solved that problem the most American way possible. He bought everything from everybody. Anybody who claimed to have a stake, he bought their control in the company. So by 1891, Candler was Coca-Cola's sole proprietor,
Okay.
having invested a princely sum of $3,000 to buy up all the shares and rights.
Only 3,000.
Now back then, $3,000 was a good bit of money, but it compared to what that company's worth now, $90 billion.
Yeah, that's nothing.
So by the late 1800s, Coca-Cola was one of America's most popular fountain drinks, largely due to Candler's aggressive marketing policy. Syrup sales increased by 4,000% between
4,000
in 10 years, from 1890 to 1900. 4,000%. Some of that, actually none of that. They said in 1886, Candler started distributing little slips of paper that could be redeemed at a fountain for a single glass of Coca-Cola. So it was a free sample.
Okay.
So it was the first instance of a company issuing coupons for free samples. So one of the first coupons that was really worth anything. Like you get a free product if you present it.
Okay. Smart way to get people trying it.
Absolutely smart. Like, if someone gave me a paper for some new soda that's coming out and said, hey, take this in and get a free one, I'd try it.
When we get the coupons in the mail, I'll clip them out, and if there's free on there, I'll go up to the restaurant and try whatever it is.
Yeah. So the theory, which proved to be dead accurate, was that people would be happy to try something for free and just as happy to pay for it later as loyal customers, which is a lot of times, if you have a product that people want, that's what will happen.
Yeah.
Like my adult Coca-Cola here.
Hold on, that's not Prohibition approved.
No, it is not. Between 1894 and 1913, approximately 1 in 9 Americans drank a free Coca-Cola.
1 in 9.
So you and 10 of your friends are standing around. At least one of you got a free Coke.
Now, nowadays, that sounds ridiculous for only 1 in 10 people who have tried a Coke.
Yeah, for free.
Well, for free.
To use one of those coupons, that's 1 in 9 Americans at the time got that coupon. It affected them enough to go in and actually get the free product. And even if you have a 50% retention rate in sales, you're still getting 4 to 5 people coming back to buy your product.
Yeah.
That kind of return, that's crazy. You don't see that with any product.
No. No, you do not. It's a little suspicious. Yeah. Maybe they were putting something in it.
Well, there was something in it. There was cocaine in it at the time. Historical evidence shows that until 1905, Coca-Cola was marketed as a tonic that contained extracts of cocaine as well as caffeine from the rich coconut. This is something that the company denies. They say, well, we never marketed it as a tonic, which is untrue. Everything up till now, Pemberton created the drink to help cure his opium addiction.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, I don't really know what else you'd call it because I don't think soda really existed around Pemberton time.
Well, there were sodas
Oh, okay.
because you had the soda fountains.
Oh, yeah.
But the word medicine back then was a very loose term. Things that were considered medicines were usually could be herbal, or you had a lot of snake oil salesmen and stuff that you would get that really was nothing. So, you could market almost anything as a, market Coke as something for your belly because it makes you burp, makes you feel better.
Yeah.
They didn't have to back it up with scientific evidence.
You make your leg grow back.
So, Candler began removing the cocaine from the recipe as early as 1900. However, traces of cocaine may have been present until 1929. And now they still use the coca leaf to make the product, and we'll get to it, but it was a very shady thing.
Oh.
Actually, we'll get to it now. Scientists had actually perfected a method to remove all the psychoactive elements from the coca leaf.
Okay.
In 1922, the Jones-Miller Act banned the import of coca leaves to the United States. But Coca-Cola and its coca processing lab, which was Steffen Company in New Jersey, they were given an exception. They were exempt.
An exempt exception?
Yes. So that exception was a well-guarded secret for a very long time. It wasn't until the 80s, the New York Times uncovered it and made it public. Yeah. The 1980s.
I know.
Not the 1880s.
I know the 1980s.
Almost 100 years after the product was made is when the truth of them still using the coca leaf and having an exemption to import them into the United States was found out. It was weird.
That's insane. Keep it secret like that for that long.
But there is no cocaine in it. All the cocaine extract is extracted from the leaves. The leaves are processed into coca leaf sugar, and that is what's used in the product now. Or
Okay.
at that, I don't know if it still is. They did some changes over the years, and we'll talk about that. But there's no cocaine in it. Although one of the conspiracies is that there is still cocaine in it, because that lab has exclusive rights. It's the only U.S. company and laboratory that can import the coca leaf.
Still.
Yes. So they would extract the cocaine in New Jersey, and they would send it to a St. Louis company, which is Mallinckrodt Inc. I'm probably pronouncing it very wrong. That company also purchases the cocaine is sent to that Mallinckrodt. They also purchase opium from India, THC extract,
Opium.
and THC extract from marijuana.
Oh, yummy.
The company sells all of it for medical use. It says medical use. It's speculated that make 333 kilos of cocaine a year. Yeah. So, getting past the manufacturing, back to the advertising. Advertising is the biggest thing that made Coke what it is.
Oh, yeah, you see it on everything.
They put their logo on every frickin' thing. The Coke advertisement stuff is one of the most collectible items out there. The metal Coke signs, Coke refrigerators, Coke machines, the old ones. So it was around this time when they began selling their syrup to independent bottlers. They really didn't. The Asa Candler didn't believe in bottling. He thought the sales should be driven completely by the soda fountains.
Okay.
That fountain sodas were where the money was at. He felt that bottling was. I don't know if he felt it was wasteful, but he didn't think it was going to be profitable. So the way they sell to independent bottling companies, that's a method that Pepsi also used.
Okay.
And it's a method that also still stands today. It's pretty much how the entire soft drink industry is organized. They make the syrup, they send the syrup out, they use local bottling companies to water and bottle it and carbonate it. Until the 60s, the sodas were served at local fountains or ice cream salons, often housed in drugstores. As fountains declined in popularity, bottled drinks became more and more popular.
I was about to say bottled, like any modern marketing for it. For bottle.
I could see what he was saying, but people want what they can get out. They want it at home.
Yeah.
And around that time, this is the Industrial Revolution. Things are exploding. People are seeing a new way to do things. They want to be able to grab that Coke and go home. So, Candler did not see the advantage of selling in bottles and felt there was no money to be made in that avenue. It was not until March 12, 1894, Coke was first sold in bottles. The first person to bottle Coke was Joseph A. Beidenharn. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Owner of a candy store in Vicksburg, Mississippi. He correctly predicted that bottles would boost sales.
Really? No way.
Yeah. And when they first bottled it, and I'm going to see if I can find a picture of the original bottle, it was just like what you would think of an old medicine bottle.
Yeah, they weren't big. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It was like that big. It was just oval with a top on it. That was it. And I think it was just it wasn't even a metal top. It was, might have been a cork stuffed in. I'm not even sure. He put they were Hutchinson bottles. It was a common reusable glass bottle that bore no resemblance to the modern Coke bottle. He sent Candler a case, but Candler continued to stick to the fountain sales. I'm sticking with fountains. 5 years later, Candler finally sold national bottling rights to Coke, excluding the rights that he already given in Vicksburg, two brothers from Chattanooga. Now, there was he still didn't believe in it. And he sold them the syrup, and in the contract, he sold the syrup at a certain price.
Okay.
No matter how much they needed or how much he sold it at a certain price. So he was not making a lot of money from that because of the way the contract was written. The contract stipulated that a bottle of Coke would cost 5 cents and it had no end date. There's a legal oversight that resulted in the price remaining the same until 1959. So while everybody else could make up their losses in raising the prices, Coca-Cola until 1959 really couldn't. And that could have killed the company in itself.
Could have. And probably why in earlier years.
That loose contract also had them going in and out of court for years.
Oh, I'm sure. Trying to find a way to get them to change the contract and raise the price.
Yeah. In 1915, the bottlers put out a call for a new design, one that was so distinctive it would be able to be recognized even if it were in pieces on the ground or feeling it in the dark. So there was a couple designs prior to the Coke bottle you see today, or the glass bottles.
I imagine so.
One of them is like really funny. It's like it has really low waist, and then it comes out kind of bulbous, and it comes back in again. It's a really weird looking bottle.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'll see if I can find that too and throw it up. The winning design was produced by Root Glass Company of Terre Haute, Indiana. It gave the world the iconic contoured bottle we know today. So, bottling Coke was a hit. After 1898, there was a federal tax on medicine. So Coca-Cola said, "Oh, well, we're not a medicine. We're just a refreshing drink." And it left pharmacies forever then. It was no longer sold in pharmacies.
Yeah, not a medicine, not medicine at all. Where you get that from? There's never a medicine.
Crunch. What?
Crunch.
Did you hear that? Oh, penalty shot.
I don't know if that's a
Oh, yuck. Henceforth, Coca-Cola's approach to marketing would be positioning itself as a refreshing beverage, one you could drink recreationally, and they wanted to build up a positive emotional association with the drink. So that's where we get to Cinderklausen. Well, Coca did not invent Santa Claus. They did have, I don't want to say they invented the way he's seen today. I want to say they had a profound effect in how they're perceived.
I mean, it makes sense. Every time, almost immediately when the winter season starts, all Coke bottles magically through black, evil magic transform
into pictures with Santa Claus and pictures with polar bears. So Santa Claus has been used to sell products since the 1870s. However, Father Christmas was shown as a lean or tall man in a green, red, and brown suit. When Coca-Cola appropriated the image of Santa Claus to boost sales during the winter months, they created a character literally billions of children would grow up associated with magic, family, and presents.
Yeah.
This paid dividends, and it from the day they did it, in perpetuity, it paid dividends to the company. Those children grew up and started families of their own, and carried on the tradition, and pretty much, you see Santa Claus as Coca-Cola envisioned him. Chubby, rosy-cheeked, jolly fellow, holding a Coke, red suit, with black boots. While Santa Claus can be contributed to many factors, including the writings of Washington Irving and Clement Clark Moore, historian John Pritchard, and illustrator Thomas Nast, no one did more than Coca-Cola to make this image an ingrained part of everyday life.
That's crazy that Coke is heavily responsible for that.
I know. And I kind of knew that, but and like you look on the internet and it says Coke invented Santa Claus. He didn't invent Santa Claus. They heavily contributed to the way he's viewed today. So to this day, Coca-Cola's brand identity is so powerful that even though blind taste tests will show that people prefer the taste of Pepsi over Coke, people still buy Coke more.
Yeah.
So now we talked about the blind taste test with Pepsi when we did the history of Pepsi.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which I'll link below. And Pepsi wins. Hands down, almost every time. But people still buy more Coke. And it was because of their marketing strategy.
if you had perfect marketing, you could market poison and people would buy and drink it probably.
I believe that. So there's only two places in the world where Coca-Cola is not officially operating. That is Cuba and North Korea. Even though I think that the drink is called a Cuba Libre, a rum and coke.
Oh.
Ernest Woodruff bought the company and took it public in 1919, and is credited with bringing Coke to Europe. So there was, in the 1900s, the total export, I think is in 1900, the total export of Coke syrup, England, was 5 pounds of syrup. Done.
5 pounds.
That's it. Yeah.
All right, you can have 5 pounds. Now everyone share.
Around that time, adults in Germany drinking non-alcoholic beverages was absurd. Germans drank beer. They drank wine. They drank water. They drink beer and wine. Water and anything else were for kids. And so it was seen as a child's drink. The French had this perception that anyone who would buy an inferior American product was insulting. Why would we have so many good things here in France? We have French fries, we have French onions, we have French cheese.
Now, eat a snail.
Yeah, you have snails. Yeah. Woo! I give up. So it was looked down on in Europe. Coca-Cola was looked down on.
Yeah.
So instinctively he realized that bottles were going to be a much bigger seller than fountains overseas. So even though most of the fountains here were getting shut down, he knew that overseas it was not going to be fountain drinks that got the sale. It was going to be a bottle. So what he did was he developed a bottle for Europe. And if you could still find one of these, it's worth a lot of money. That was shaped more like a champagne magnum.
Really?
It had a gold foil over the cap to make it look more sophisticated. He also came up with developing metal top coolers to keep the bottles cold, because everybody wanted a cold Coke. He also invented the 6-pack carrier with a handle. So people could buy Coke, put it in a 6-pack, take it with them.
Now, they were wooden at first, weren't they?
There were wooden 6-pack. They used to have a 4-pack thing for milk, the milk jugs. He developed one specifically for Coke bottles.
Okay.
I don't know if it was cardboard or not. They're cardboard now.
Oh, yeah. Well, now they're plastic.
Well, you still get cardboard cool. Well,
oh, well, yeah.
For beer.
No, you're right. You can still get it for Coke if you find a place who sells.
Yeah,
the glass ones.
Yeah.
You can still get them in cardboard.
So, he pioneered the now famous glass-fronted, coin-operated cooler to dispense the vending machine, where you could buy a bottle for a nickel. It ended up being a fixture at almost every gas station in America for half a century.
Still is.
Those machines are like, well, the old machines where you would put a nickel in, you would open the whole side, and it would release one of the bottles to you.
I know. I think that's crazy.
But like, if you could find those machines, they're still worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
1926, Woodruff turned his energy towards overseas markets, resolving there wouldn't be a place on earth that didn't have a Coca-Cola handy. So through the 20s and 30s, Coca-Cola advertised, gave away, and sold all over Europe as a fun, refreshing, exotic American import.
Okay. Probably took a lot of work and effort to get that to work.
Yeah, well, that's where they came up with the Champagne Magnum-looking bottles with the gold foil over the seal. In 1928, the U.S. Olympic team arrived in Amsterdam with 40,000 bottles of Coca-Cola, as Coca-Cola was its official sponsor.
Okay.
At the outbreak of World War II, Woodruff swore every serviceman would be able to get a cold Coca-Cola everywhere the war took him. And with very few exceptions, he was good to his word. Now, Pepsi did the same thing. During World War II, Pepsi exported a lot of Coke to military members, or a lot of Pepsi to military members. And their focus was that the locals would pick up on what the Americans were drinking and then want the same thing. Coke had the same idea. I don't know who had it first, but they both did it. Coke overnight, along with Hershey chocolate and Spam, became an American hallmark. Yeah. So all over Europe, when soldiers go back to the rear area behind the enemy lines, or back to their base camps or headquarters, there was always Coke there. There was always Coke there, and it was so abundant that they would grab a Coke before they get replacement socks or gloves.
Huh.
Yeah. Coke followed soldiers to Japan during the post-war occupation. The people in liberated countries came to associate the drink with American soldiers, and the American soldiers were generally willing to share, because anybody could say what they want about Americans, but Americans have always been a charitable country. We have, for the most part, yeah. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, and there has been many, many, many instances of greed in the United States, especially during this time. But the American people are always willing to give something of what they have to people who don't have it. They always have been. Even now, American charity is much more prevalent than people would let you believe.
Yeah.
So eventually American forces withdrew from the occupation duty, but the products they had introduced to a generation of foreigners remained behind. So let's just say the damage was done. Coke was brought in. The locals got so used to seeing Americans with Coke and getting some that they wanted it too. So now that product is introduced to that area. Researchers working at the South Pole can enjoy a frosty Coca-Cola in sub-zero temperatures. Mountain climbers in the Himalayas can stop for a Coca-Cola at their base camp at 20,000 feet above sea level. Huh. So high that breathable air itself is a commodity. You can get a Coke. The drink was even carried into space on July 12th, 1985, anniversary of the billionth bottle sold aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger, for important research of whether water could be carbonated in microgravity, which, by the way, it can.
Challenger.
Yep. That is the one that did explode eventually. But the Challenger was launched once.
Yeah. It was only during one of its launches.
The last launch.
No way, really?
It was never launched again. So, this close association with mostly worked for the company, but sometimes it got in the way. Just before World War II, for example, no less than the leading Nazi, Hermann Göring, blocked the import of Coca-Cola syrup into Germany unless a huge bribe was paid. Now, I will stop that story there, because that story is the inception of another product we're going to talk about.
Oh, and you love that story.
Yes, I do. So I'm going to stop right there.
He's going to relish it.
Spoiler. not spoiler. I'm going to save it for another product where to come from. Other countries, as they pass through their own anti-American periods, have also vented their rage at Coca-Cola. So I would assume in that after
stupid drink!
that dumb American drink. We don't want any of that. Give me a sip. 1969, the ad campaign. Oh, hold on. Oh, as of now, however, official word from Islamic authorities is that Coca-Cola is halal, since the Quran doesn't explicitly forbid drinking it. So since the Quran doesn't say you can't drink Coca-Cola, it's halal. Not my rules. So in 1969, the ad campaign, "Things Go Better with a Coke," ended, and the slogan, "It's a Real Thing," began. It was one of the most popular ads ever created. I will tell you that it's a real thing, and Coke is it. I had a T-shirt that said "Coke is it" on the front, and "It's the real thing" on the back, and I used that shirt to pick up a girl at a restaurant I was working at. It was a dark and stormy night. There was snow on the ground everywhere, and this girl comes in and she's like, "Hey, I just want to sit out some of the storm. You guys open?" We're like, "Yeah, we're open. We're minimum staff." So I was cooking that night, and I went out. I told the one waitress, I said, "Well, I'll take her order." I said, "I know you're busy with another table. I'll take her order," because even though it was snowing out, the restaurant was about half full. So I went out.
People want their food.
I go over to this girl and I take her order, talking to her. She goes, "Oh, I like your shirt." So I go back, couple of food. I made my food for my break, and I came out, sat down with her, and I said, "I'm about to take a break. Do you mind if I sit with you?" And I don't like to see you sit alone.
Smooth.
And so we were talking. So I gave her my phone number on her check, and I put "Coke is it. It's the real thing" on the back of the check so she would know who it was.
Really smooth.
Guys got it. Some guys stumble into it accidentally. I'd like to buy the world the Coke song, or campaign was, I think, their most popular thing. Everybody knows that song. You know what song I'm talking about?
What song?
I'd like to buy the world a Coke.
I was going to say that I didn't, but when you sang it, I've definitely heard that.
The creator of the campaign explained to the songwriters, which were Billy Davis and Roger Cook, "I could see and hear a song that treated the whole world as if it were a person. A person the singer would like to help and get to know. I'm not sure how the lyrics would start, but I know the last line. He pulled out a napkin and he scribbled on the napkin, 'I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company.' That would be the last line. And that's how the song came about.
It started from the last line.
Yes. It was shipped to radio stations throughout the United States in February 12th, 1971. The Coca-Cola bottlers hated the ad, and most refused to buy it. They said the song flopped. The few times the ad was played, the public paid no attention to it. Bill Backer, who was the creative director, persuaded McCain to convince Coca-Cola executives that the ad was still viable. It just needed a visual dimension. The company eventually approved $250,000 for filming. At the time, it was one of the largest budgets given to a television commercial. The television ad, "I'd like to buy the world of Coke," was released United States, July 1971. And the response was immediate and dramatic. And they were appealing commercials. I remember them.
I can't say that I specifically remember any. It's possible I've seen them, whether probably not on television, but it's possible I've seen them on videos or
It's been in movies.
yeah.
So the likelihood is you saw it. If you saw one, you say, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Yeah.
Because I can't picture one off the top of my head, but I know, and I was 1 year old in 71. That those ads played for 10, 12 years because I remember them. By November that year, Coca-Cola and its bottlers had received more than 100,000 letters about the ad. Demand for the song was so great that people called radio stations and asked DJs to play the commercial. Can you imagine that? Hey, Mr. DJ, what can I play for you today? Can you play the I'd like to buy a world of Coke commercial?
Come on, that's the 17th time this hour.
Yeah. It's a good song. It's a good song. That's my favorite song. I want to see him in concert. So, now we get to something that really pissed me off. 1985. The year was 1985. Mike D was 15 years old. And the company made the biggest mistake I think it ever freaking made. They launched New Coke. They felt that New Coke would help them compete in the cola market. The Coca-Cola wars were at their pinnacle in the 80s. Fans, such as me, were very hostile to the change. It was only 3 months before the original Coke was brought out back as Coca-Cola Classic, and New Coke stuck around until 1992. But I could tell you, I probably drank 3 New Cokes in my entire life.
Well, because from what you've said, it was absolutely terrible.
It was. And
I was told that they almost tripled the sugar content or something to try and compete with the sweetness of Pepsi or something.
They changed the formulation. I don't know what the hell they did, but I did not like it. And in 92, it was rebranded as Coke 2.
Coke 2.
Yes. That was discontinued in 2002. Thankfully.
So that's probably why I remember seeing something like that. It probably stuck around in some places, sitting on the shelves for a few years. Now, I don't know if you found this, but recently, I want to say 2020, maybe 21, Coke did a special thing for New Coke. You could place in a special mail order and get a box of 4 New Coke sent to your house. Just in the past few years. Now it's over now, as far as I'm aware, but they did do a small thing where you could get a mail order.
That's disgusting.
Of New Coke.
Disgusting. Actually, I think we talked about that before. You told me that once before because it rings a bell.
Okay.
So another ad campaign that they had that I wanted to make sure we talked about were the Magic Cans. The Magic Cans was a promotion where it was a $100 million Magic Summer 1990 promotion. In this promotion, some Coca-Cola cans would have a cash prize or a gift certificate inside the can instead of Coke. So imagine this. It's a hot day in the summer. You're trudging along. I just want Coke. I just want something nice and cold to drink. I go over to the vending machine. I put my money in. Doot, doot, doot. Out drops a can. I pop it open. And what happens? A $1 bill slides out from the top of the can. And you can't drink nothing in the can. Now I'm still thirsty. I'm pissed off because I only got $1.
Tough luck, kid.
Tough luck, kid. The prizes were spring load out of the top of the can once the can was open.
I have heard about this, and I was curious, like, how do you drink it if it's in
You
there?
don't drink it. What they did is they put a foul-smelling, chlorinated water in the can. So you couldn't pick up the can and distinguish it from another can. You would hear it sloshing. It would have the same weight, the same feel. You could not drink what was in the can.
Though I'm sure someone has tried.
We're getting there.
Uh-oh.
We're getting there, Nathan. Needle ahead.
Doesn't work quite.
No. The prize would be either money from $100 to $500 or coupons redeemable for prizes or merchandise or trips. The total cash and prizes giveaway was $4 million. The original plan was to randomly distribute 750,000 Magic cans among the 2 million regular cans of Coca-Cola Classic in circulation at the time. The cans had the same feel and normal weight that prevented people from easily finding the cans. I'm sure you could if there was a way to do it. There was a sealed area within the can that was filled with a mixture of chlorinated water and foul-smelling substance to discourage drinking. Although initially a great success and sales rose, technical difficulties led the promotion to early termination. A number of cans had problems. Pop-up mechanism would malfunction, jam, or have a faulty release of some of the carbonated mixture into the can itself, which would mean the prize got soggy.
Yeah.
A widely reported incident involving an 11-year-old boy in Massachusetts drinking the foul-tasting liquid replaced in Coca-Cola. Despite initial fears, Massachusetts Department of Public Health determined that the water was not harmful, contained a lower concentration of chlorine than water in a typical swimming pool. But the lawyers got worried, so they put out large ads. They put out ads in large markets warning consumers that the foul-smelling liquid should not be drank.
Oh.
Like full-page ads in newspapers and shit.
Full page ad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after that, it was discontinued. So I have some timeline stuff here, and I'm going to go through that, and then I'm going to go through some of the conspiracy stuff.
Oh boy.
So 1960 introduced the Coke can, first canned Coke. 1982, Diet Coke was the first variation from the project from the original product. 1983, caffeine-free Coke. 1985, Cherry Coke. We won't talk about what else happened in 85 because it's disgusting.
Oh.
New Coke.
Ah.
We'll talk about it. 1983, a switch to plastic bottles to minimize environmental impact, which now we're told plastic bottles are the bane of our existence. Yes.
So scary.
2001, Lemon Coke was introduced to compete with Pepsi Twist.
Lemon Coke.
Yes. I don't think I've ever had one. I don't think I've ever seen one.
And neither do I.
2002, Vanilla Coke was introduced and then discontinued. 2005, Coke Zero was introduced. 2007, Vanilla Coke was brought back. Woo! Also in 2007, there was a limited release of aluminum cans. Aluminum bottles, I mean. They were, some kind of artwork was on them. Like flowers and shit.
I feel like I vaguely remember that.
So, the aluminum cans were so popular that they were permanently part of their repertoire as of 2007.
Oh, okay.
In 2009, they introduced a plant-based plastic bottle. So the bottles are from a plant-based, like plastic is made from petroleum.
Yeah.
You can also make petroleum type, synthetic petroleum, products with plant-based materials. So they came up with the, plant bottle.
Okay.
In 2013, the Share a Coke with name bottles came out.
Yeah.
And then in 2016, they expanded it to be the Coke with and song with.
Yeah.
So they had song lyrics on the bottles too.
Yes.
2014, Coke Life, which is the green can, came out. 2015, the new and improved plant bottle.
I don't remember that.
Well, the bottles, they didn't really push that too much. We're going away from plastic. We're going to a more plant-based, biodegradable bottle.
Okay.
2016, Coke Zero was turned into Coke Zero Sugar. 2018, 4 new Diet Coke flavors in the tall, skinny cans. Ginger lime, twisted mango, zesty blood orange, and feisty cherry.
I remember being interested in that, but I never tried any of them because they were all diet.
Tried the cherry. I don't like ginger, so I don't know if I had. I might have tried the blood orange too. 2020, Coke announced a goal to go completely to plant bottles. So,
Hello, Mr. Flower.
yeah. So now we get into a little bit of Zoomer history. Coca-Cola Bite Pixel flavored soda.
Wait, what?
Have you ever seen Coca-Cola Bite?
No.
It's a pixel flavored soda.
Pixel flavor. What?
What does a pixel flavor taste like? I don't know.
I want to try that. I didn't even know that existed.
So then there's Coke Starlight, which is a space flavored soda.
I actually really like it.
And you know what? So many things I've seen, it's love or hate.
Yeah, there is no in between.
There's not much in between. And it's either, man, this tastes like crap, or, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
You liked it. I thought it was okay. I don't know that I get space from it. But if you watch another channel on YouTube, Food Theory, he does a whole, this is what space tastes like.
Yeah.
So.
And I'll be honest, I was talking with one of my friends about it, and he said it almost tastes like they were trying to go for the flavor of a s'more. And we looked it up. I forget if it was on Wikipedia or on the official site or whatever, but they said originally what inspired the flavor was sitting at a campfire, stargazing. I read that somewhere. That's what the flavor was inspired by. So and I've also heard other people describe they kind of get like a marshmallow and graham flavor from Starlight.
Yeah.
So,
I got more of a fruit flavor from it.
yeah, I see.
And
I've gotten
Food Theory says that there's an amino acid in it which would make it taste fruity.
Yeah.
So there's also a marshmallow limited edition strawberry and watermelon flavor. And it's the Marshmallow DJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a big marshmallow head.
Yeah, he does.
That's your era, not mine.
I forget what the genre of music is. I don't listen to it often.
It's
I know
probably club music. It's DJ music.
I know who he is, but I didn't know he had a flavor.
So we're gonna get into some of the, I don't want to say conspiracies, but what people would say is the darker side of Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is being blamed for drought issues in India. So India has always had water issues for a long time, either impure water or lack of water. Some are saying that the 58 Coca-Cola bottling plants exacerbate the issue.
Oh.
Which very well could be.
Yeah?
They're pulling out groundwater. You need water to make Coke. So they're pulling out groundwater, and they're saying it's drying up wells. Some link the lack of groundwater to the arrival of Coca-Cola bottling plant areas 3 years ago. Following several large protests, local governments revoked Coca-Cola's license to operate last year and ordered the company to shut down its $25 million plant. That was in one area. I think that was the Uttar Pradesh. They took part in a 10-day march in 2004 between two Coca-Cola plants that were supposedly depleting groundwater, which very well could be. I'm not saying it's not, but people blame Coca-Cola, but they are independently operated bottling plants. One of the protests, the organizers said, drinking Coke is like farmers drinking blood in India. Oh, drinking Coke is like drinking farmers' blood.
Oh.
That makes more sense. There's also the Central Pollution Control Board of India found that in 2003, the sludge Coca-Cola's Uttar Pradesh factory had contained high levels of calcium or cadmium, lead, and chromium. And supposedly they were taking this sludge and they were offering it as free fertilizer to tribal farmers near the plant. And it prompted questions as why would they would not do that, but they would do that, but they wouldn't provide clean water to replace the water they had stolen. I think it's just one of those things where resources are very slim in that part of the world. If you open up a bottling plant, you're going to use some of those resources.
And you're going to get flack for it.
And you're going to get flack for it. And the country could stop it altogether, but just not drinking Coke. If it's not profitable, they're not going to do it. But they always just want someone else to pay for the problem. Not that they had to do anything, but we still want to drink Coke. But, we want them to provide this and this. And I think a good company would want to be a good steward of the earth too. So I see both sides.
Yeah.
Another Indian nonprofit group, the Center for Science and Environment, says it tested 57 carbonated beverages made by Coca-Cola and Pepsi at 25 bottling plants and found a cocktail of between 3 and 5 pesticides in all samples.
Samples of what?
Coke and Pepsi. In India.
Oh. Okay, we're safe. Whew. All right. I was worried.
So there was another thing. Now this was found to be true. It was called Campaign H2 No.
H2 No.
Yes. H2 No refers to upselling campaign by Coca-Cola to dissuade customers from ordering tap water at restaurants and instead to order more profitable soft drinks or non-carbonated beverages or bottled water. So the source that they most cite here is Olive Garden. That Coke basically told Olive Garden, look, your customers will spend more and stay longer if you upsell them to a soda or a bottled water or one of the non-carbonated drinks that we sell. They'll have a happier experience. They'll end up spending more money, and you'll have more retention of customers.
Interesting theory.
Which may or may not be true.
Yeah, I can kind of see the reasoning.
However, Olive Garden took and implemented the process, and they had success in reducing tap water incidents. And there was a success story on Coca-Cola's online public relations portal entitled Olive Garden Targets Tap Water and Wins. It described the purpose, the information, and success in reducing tap water being given to patrons. Coca-Cola stated that patrons choose tap water out of habit and that selling alternative beverages would increase guest satisfaction. And this is their quote. Water, it's necessary to stay in life, but casual dining restaurant chains, it contributes to a dull dining experience for many customers. Many customers choose tap water not because they enjoy it, but because it's the way they've always drunk in the past. In response, some restaurant chains are implementing programs help train crews to sell alternative choices of tap water, like soft drinks, non-carbonated beverages, with the goal of increasing overall guest satisfaction. Olive Garden stated the goal was to influence customers to abandon their default choice of tap water and experience other beverages choices to improve their dining experience.
Now, I wonder how they did that. And I'm sure it's going on at other restaurants too. And
How they did it was upselling.
Oh,
Would you like a Coke with that? Instead of saying, "What would you like to drink?" Would you like a soda with that? Would you like this with that? Would you like a bottle of water?
okay.
So you put the thought into someone's head, and so this other one is they blame Coca-Cola for this, but there was some shenanigans in Colombia. Go figure. South America had shenanigans going on. Paramilitary unit showed up at a Coca-Cola bottling plant in Caripa, Colombia. One of the plant's union executives went to ask the squad what they wanted. They opened fire on them and killed them. Later that night, the paramilitary group went into the union's headquarters. They were destroyed equipment and then burned the place to destroy all records inside. So, supposedly, at the time, there was a contract negotiation between the bottling plant, which was they were contractors. They was not Coca-Cola. They were contractors, and the union. Many of the employees who were earning $380 to $400 a month quit their jobs. Paramilitary guys came back and said, either quit or die. So a lot of them quit, walked away. The paramilitary group took over the plant for like 2 months. And then when the plant reopened, the union workers were replaced with workers who were getting paid $130 a month. So there's no conclusive any evidence that anyone from Coca-Cola's main office ordered any of the murders. Critics point out that Coca-Cola did very little to investigate the murders. Again, it was a bottling company, which here's the name down here. I'm not even trying to say it because I'm just going to butcher it. They were contracted by Coca-Cola to bottle their sodas in South America. They're saying that Coca-Cola didn't even complain to the government that paramilitary group had killed one of their workers and were squatting their facility for 2 months. I don't know if that's the case. Just saying what I found in research. In the years after the murder, the contract company refused to even negotiate with the workers. So they've gone all that time and they're still not making any more money. They're paying half of what they used to pay. 5 other union members working at Coca-Cola were killed in Colombia, and the union members were told to quit or die themselves at other locations in the country. 2001, the union brought a lawsuit against the contract company and Coca-Cola. The motion against Coca-Cola was dismissed because they don't actually operate there. They have a contractor who does shit for them. So, the last one I found was, and this one's kind of another one that, so we talked about the coca leaves coming out of Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peru. Coke is the only American company who's allowed to get these coca leaves from Peru. So therefore, they can pretty much set their own price. I would look at it as the Peruvian farmers could also refuse to sell to them, and then they have to change their product, which could hurt them worldwide. They did with New Coke. So they're saying Coca-Cola could set their own price, and these companies are held hostage by the company. But I would say for maybe a lean couple months, they could also hold Coca-Cola hostage. Because where else can they get the coca leaves? And I don't know that exemption extends to other countries. I don't know, what that bill said where they exempted companies from importing coca leaves to the United States.
Okay.
Is it can Coca-Cola import from anywhere in the world, or can they only get from these farmers here? I don't know. But you would think the farmers would have a little bit of pull on their side as well. So basically, people accuse Coca-Cola of keeping those farmers poor while they're making billions of dollars off of their product.
Okay.
So that's what I have on Coca-Cola. Is there anything I didn't cover that is in your little head?
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
So, this one, because I know we can probably place a time on this one, is the Coke with coffee. I noticed in your timeline of all the drinks, you didn't have anything about Coke with coffee.
No, it was not on that timeline, but on their website, I did find it.
Okay. But there's also, I think...
Cherry Coke wasn't on there either.
Really? And that's one of the more popular flavors, I'd imagine.
I think it was cherry vanilla, the cherry.
Yeah. But early 2000s, late 90s, I want to say, Coke Black. It wasn't...
Was it Coke Black?
I'm pretty sure BLAK.
Go ahead, keep going.
It was a coffee-flavored Coke, if I'm recalling correctly. And it was
There it is.
a failure. Maybe not as bad as New Coke, but it was a pretty bad failure from what I can recall.
It says 2 years. 2006 to 2008.
Okay, so I was a little off with my timeline with late 90s, but...
Yep.
I have no idea what the flavor tastes like. I just know that it's supposed
46 milligrams of caffeine rather than the standard 23 milligrams.
Yeah, it's supposed to be coffee. So I guess it's the precursor to Coke with coffee. Now, why they would try it again after...
People's taste change.
Well, yeah. And Coke with coffee isn't terrible. I've tried it. I've tried vanilla and whatever the other flavor was. I guess it was a caramel.
It's weird that I did not know this. That bottle is actually pretty cool.
It's very distinct. I was surprised when you didn't know it when I brought it up before, when we were talking about this episode.
Right, and when I was doing the research, I was thinking, well, now was that on the Pepsi episode? Was that Coke? I don't remember, and you're busy all day with your therapy, so
yeah,
I forgot to ask you then, and I'm glad you brought it up. But I'll throw a picture of that up on the gimmick too.
Yeah, and like I said, if I recall correctly, it was it was discontinued after 2 years, so obviously it was a failure.
Yeah.
And then they tried it again whenever Coke with coffee started. More recent.
Yeah, that's just within the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say, like I said, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's odd.
I didn't care for it.
The way I describe the flavor, and this is me with my crazy way of thinking, my insane imagination. It tastes like you're drinking a regular Coke.
Well, this is the first full soda I've drank in probably a year.
Really?
I don't drink soda much anymore at all.
But yeah, it tastes like you're drinking a regular Coke, but you have like the ghost of coffee in your mouth.
The ghost of coffee.
I guess because of how. I guess because of how aromatic it is. The aroma just fills your mouth. Maybe. I don't know. Or it could just be me being a little loony.
Oh, well, that could not be.
Why, thank
So, what else you got?
you.
Just Coke Black? I thought you had a couple things on me.
I think I did too, but
You have memory issues?
yeah. Let's say that. Not just neglect.
So, that's the history of Coke. Started by Mr. John Pemberton, a Civil War Confederate colonel, who was mortally wounded and survived, and brought us the company that we have today. So we took that on. Now you go take on the world.
Our podcasts exist because of listeners like you. To find other great shows, head over to theden.show. Thanks for listening.
Hold on, stop. Welcome back to the Shit Show 2.0.
Okay, Boomer.
Damn millennials. Wow.
Did not know that. Even flirters who are obviously mentally ill.
You want to be my wife?
Oh, this is gonna go downhill real quick.